tough game in which both defenses really had to stand out. The Philadelphia Eagles were able to capitalize on the opportunities presented to them and make a few key plays to knock off the Kansas City Chiefs and rise to 2-0 for the third time in 4 years, defeating the Kansas City Chiefs by a final score of 20-17. Welcome to the Bird's Nest Podcast. I'm Joe Donahue. Thank you so much for joining us. The Philadelphia Eagles had a really tough game, but ultimately came away with the victory. And before we get any further, I do want to point out the significance of this particular victory, because so much is made about the fact that this is a Super Bowl rematch and what have you. Obviously, the Eagles don't necessarily buy into the fact that this is a Super Bowl rematch, or at least the on-field team doesn't, because the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles team no longer exists. But there is a significance to this, and that significance is that in the entire time that Andy Reid has been the head coach and Patrick Mahomes has been the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chiefs have never started a season 0-2. The Chiefs lost last week to the LA Chargers in Brazil, and now they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles at home in Arrowhead Stadium. It's the first time that Patrick Mahomes has ever started the season 0-2. It is the first time since 2014 that the Kansas City Chiefs have started 0-2 under Andy Reid. So, this is a rather significant win, and I want to make sure that we don't lose the context of that. Because the Kansas City Chiefs really played this game hard. They were coming in with a chip on their shoulder. They lost week 1, and they're coming in having been completely embarrassed by the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 59. So they're coming in and they're trying to take over, and they're trying to demonstrate that they are in fact actually the better team. And the Philadelphia Eagles allowed them to have none of that. Now, again, it was a really tough defensive battle. If you wanted defense, if you wanted lots of blitzing, if you wanted really strong in the trenches fights, this was your game, because there wasn't a lot of offensive production by either side. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs did get a little bit more. The Philadelphia Eagles netted just 216 total offensive yards. When you compare that to the Kansas City Chiefs' 294 net offensive yards, the Chiefs did get a little bit more bang for their buck when it came to the offense. But a lot of that came off of the legs of Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes was okay in the passing game. He was 16 for 29 for 187 yards, but he also ran 7 times for 66 yards, and all 7 of those times were because he was getting flushed out of the pocket. He was trying to create opportunities. None of them were because he had a designed quarterback run. So he was using his athleticism to try to extend the play, trying to create the play, create an opportunity where there really wasn't one. And that's saying a lot about the Philadelphia Eagles defense and the performance that they put on the field. Because when you take away those times when Patrick Mahomes had to scramble, this offense really didn't do a whole lot more differently than the Philadelphia Eagles did. They were still a little bit better, but they were really very much on par. And when you also take a look at it too, the Eagles defense was able to get Patrick Mahomes sacked twice, which is a huge feather in their cap. So the Eagles defense really was just buckling down and really trying to create the opportunities for the offense and keep the team in it for as long as they could until the offense could figure out what was going on. Now, the Eagles did play from behind a little bit, but the Eagles went into halftime tied, and once the Eagles took the lead in the third quarter, the Eagles never really looked back. So the Eagles had been playing for a good chunk of this game from ahead, and that really helps when the offense is just trying to get things situated. That really helped the Eagles out a lot. That gave the Eagles defense some room to work with. But ultimately, it came down to capitalizing on the opportunities that were handed to the Philadelphia Eagles. And the biggest opportunity that the Eagles were handed came in the fourth quarter of the game, when a normally routine pass between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce was off of Travis Kelce's hands. This was the first time that either team was in a goal-to-go situation. And Patrick Mahomes was throwing to Travis Kelce. He catches that ball. It's a touchdown, and we're talking very differently probably right now. But Mahomes, Kelce, two veteran players, two players who've been together for pretty much their entire careers, missed on the connection. It was off the hands of Travis Kelce and into the hands of rookie safety Drew Makuba, who did not have a good game prior to this point. He had been run over by Patrick Mahomes. He had some blown coverage opportunities. He let Travis Kelce get open and was really not having a good game up until that point. But Drew Makuba came up with the play of the game because he picked off Patrick Mahomes and took that ball 41 yards in the Eagles' direction. And the Philadelphia Eagles were able to take that and turn that into the touchdown that really sealed the game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles did have to fend off a last-minute attempt at a comeback by the Kansas City Chiefs, which is very typical for the Chiefs to try to do. But the Eagles came away with the victory. They found the way to win. And we've really kind of put off talking about the offense here because, again, this was really the defense's time to shine. But when you look at the offense did do just enough to come away with the victory. Jalen Hurts, 15 for 22, 101 gross passing yards. He also had 9 carries for 15 yards. Most of the Eagles' offense came on the ground. And that also, I think, really helped to make the difference here. Because when you look at it, when you're utilizing the run game in the way that the Eagles do, and in the way that Eagles fans have been clamoring for the last number of years, when you're utilizing the run game in the way that the Philadelphia Eagles do, what it does is it wears down a defense hard. And ultimately, the Eagles were able to do that. Saquon Barkley, who at halftime had not a lot of carries. He had 6 carries for 30 yards. By the end of the game, he had 88 yards on 22 carries. Now, a lot of that came from the fact that the Eagles, by late in the game, were playing from ahead. The Eagles were able to force the Chiefs to burn all of their timeouts well before the 2-minute warning. And so the Eagles were just handing the ball off and trying to control and churn some clock. But the Philadelphia Eagles really relied on their running backs. Jalen Hurts, obviously, as we mentioned, 9 carries for 15 yards, and A.J. Dillon had 3 carries for 19 yards. But the fact that the Eagles relied on the ground game for the majority of their production, I think contributed to the Eagles' success late game. And ultimately was what propelled them to victory, alongside a stellar defensive performance that did what they could do to try to keep this team in the game. Was it perfect? No, it was far from pretty. It was definitely not a repeat of Super Bowl 59, where the Eagles were up 34-0 in the third quarter. Really, they were up 40-6 by the time all meaningful scoring had concluded. But this game was fought hard in the trenches. Now, in the passing game, again, one of the things that I was looking out for, I wanted to see the Eagles utilize their number 1, number 2 receivers more than they did in week 1, and that definitely was the case today. Devontae Smith had 4 catches on 6 targets for 53 yards. A.J. Brown had 5 catches on 8 targets for 27 yards. But with the fact that the longest reception was a Devontae Smith 28-yard catch, the fact that the Eagles didn't utilize the passing game to the extent that they were relying on it for a victory, again, that speaks to this idea that the Eagles went out and they had to fight for this, because the Kansas City Chiefs were definitely playing with this mentality that we were embarrassed in Super Bowl 59. We're trying to avoid an 0-2 start, which it's very hard to recover from an 0-2 start, just statistically speaking, in the NFL. And the Eagles came in and they fought for it and ultimately were able to come away with the victory. And one of the things that Nick Sirianni spoke about at the end of the game was this interesting idea that we would expect a team to be able to pick up where they left off. But Nick Sirianni pointed out that that's not always the case in reality.
We got to keep getting better. I think there's no, I've said this before, like, all right, I don't know if I said this to you guys, but I think that when you come off a season like we came off last year, I think the expectation is that you're going to pick up right where you left off. Well, there's steps to this, right? There's steps for all the teams that are playing right now, and there's steps to get better. So as you're getting better, our goal is to play our best football by the end of the year. As you're getting better, find ways to win, get better, and repeat.
But at the end of the day, for the third time in 4 years, the Philadelphia Eagles ascended to 2-0 on the season to get things started. And from here, you really do have the sense that if the Eagles are able to come away with a hard-fought victory in Week 1 and a hard-fought victory against a Super Bowl caliber team in Week 2, there's plenty of opportunity for this team to continue to succeed, to continue to get better as this season progresses. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments below. What were your thoughts about today's game? Who stood out to you? Who definitely do you have concerns about? Let me know. And thank you so much to everyone for tuning into the Bird's Nest Podcast. You can support the Bird's Nest Podcast by liking and subscribing to Bird's Nest Media right here on YouTube, as well as by sharing to your social media pages. You can also find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, the Odyssey app, and iHeartRadio. Please visit birdsnestmedia.com for additional Eagles and NFL coverage, and if you feel so inclined to support us in a different way, you can find the link to our Patreon in the description below or at birdsnestmedia.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's go Eagles!